This is John McQuay with 8541 Tactical. We're out at the range here today to talk a little bit about bipods. We're also going to do an installation of a KMW Pod-loc for the Harris BRM-S bipods. This is a device that replaces the tension nut on the back of the Harris bipod and allows you to adjust how much tension it takes to twist the rifle side to side, or it allows you to simply lock the rifle out so the rifle can't twist. Installing the KMW Pod-loc is a very simple process. All we need to do is take our wrench and we're going to remove the nut that is on the back of the bipod that holds the tension knob on. Making sure that we don't lose the cross pin, we're going to take that piece off. We're then going to screw the KMW Pod-loc lever on, and we're done. That's about all there is to it. This is best accomplished with the bipod off the rifle, so we're going to go ahead and remove our bipod and we'll get to it. Now, to install the Pod-loc, we're going to start by taking a ratchet with a 1/4 inch socket on it, and we're going to remove the tension knob holding nut in the middle of the tension knob. Now, you don't want to totally remove it at this point, you just want to get it loose. Now, if you flip the bipod over, you'll notice that there's a pin and a cross pin in here. You want to make sure that that piece does not fall out as you're removing the nut. So we're just simply going to reach back with our finger and we're going to secure that cross pin, and we're going to keep removing our nut. Once we have the nut removed, go ahead and set it aside. Now we're going to back off our tension nut, our tension knob. Now this is, when you're backing this off, this is when you really want to hold that pin on the back there. Otherwise, this threaded pin will slide out. You'll lose that cross pin and you'll have to put everything back together. Now we're going to take our Pod-loc and we're just going to simply thread the Pod-loc on and tighten it down. And that's all there is to it. Your installation is complete. Now we can go ahead and put it back on the rifle. Let's talk a little bit about bipod installation. This seems to be a matter that confuses new shooters. Very often you'll have rifles such as this one that'll be equipped with 2 bipod studs. You'll have a forward bipod stud and you'll have a rear stud. Now generally what you want to do is you want to mount the bipod on the forwardmost stud. There's 2 reasons for this. The further the bipod gets out on the rifle, the more stable the system will be. But secondly, if you actually use a sling as a carrying strap, you want it equipped on that back bipod stud. That way when you sling it over your shoulder, the sling comes over your shoulder first instead of the bipod contacting you in the middle of your back. Now when you install the bipod, Harris type bipods need to be installed so that the legs fold forward on the system. There are a couple of reasons for that. You'll notice that the Harris legs have springs. When they're deployed, the springs hold the legs solid against the stops on the body of the bipod. With the legs mounted forward, when the rifle recoils, it allows the legs to absorb some of that recoil with the springs. It then returns to its original position assisted by the springs. I've seen a lot of shooters mount these bipods backwards so that the legs fold up flush against the forearm of the rifle. This may be great for storage, it may be a little bit easier to carry that way, but the problem you have is when that rifle recoils, there's no spring tension to help absorb that. The rifle recoils with the legs hard against the stop. This may cause a little bit more of a tendency of the rifle to hop. This also could result in damage to the bipod after some time. So when you install it, make sure you install it with the legs folding forward. Now, very often you see shooters equip these rifles with a Pod-loc because they want to lock any tendency of the rifle to twist out. This is not the reason I like Pod-locs. The reason I like Pod-locs is because I want just enough tension in the rifle that when I'm behind it, I can get it leveled out and then if I let go of the system, it'll stay where I leave it. If you lock the system in what you consider a level position, after that first shot, if you're not actually on a hard bench or hard concrete, the legs are going to start to sink in to whatever it is you're using as your shooting surface. When these legs sink in, the rifle is no longer going to be level. Now you have to reach up here and you have to loosen it back up, you have to get it level again, and then they have a tendency, again, lock the rifle back down. Next shot, same thing, you're going to sink in a little deeper. If you're on some muddy ground, you're going to sink in fast. If you're on sand, same thing. Gravel, you may get away with it for a couple of shots, but even then, the rifle still works its way back and forth and sinks those legs in. So keep your Podloc a little loose, just so you can tilt the rifle and leave it wherever you want it. Now when you get it folded up for storage or whatever, go ahead and twist that Podloc and lock it down. Now one nice thing about the Podloc is that you see in this position here, it's sticking down. That's going to get hung up on stuff. If you're shooting off a barricade, it's going to give the barricade something better to whack against and possibly damage the lever. What you can do on the Podlocs is once you get the tension set to where you want it, you simply pull the Podloc straight to the rear and turn it, and you can park the Podloc anywhere along its swivel. So I can park it up against the forearm, that way it's not hanging down here, it's not as likely to get damaged or get hung up on something. I still have the same amount of tension as it was when it was in that down position. It's just stuck up here. When I want to move it again, just simply pull it out, twist it to where you want it, and you'll feel it lock back in. It's now out there so you can adjust it to however you want to adjust it. If you've enjoyed the review video today, please click the subscription button above. More subscribers means we can bring you more videos. Thank you.